So I don't know. I feel like I've been an advocate without using that word. I'm the youngest of 6 children, and I was mentored and loved and taken such great care of throughout my life. My sister and my and then I had 4 sister-in-laws because I had 4 brothers. And my mom, those women loved me, trained me, taught me how to be receptive of being loved and taught appropriateness and how to treat people. And my mother had a head of pearls of wisdom. And one of them that she would always share was, there's a way to do and say anything. I didn't like when I saw someone get their feelings hurt because of something different about them. So, kind of spoke up sometimes. And to defend the other person, yes, but more importantly, to get the person who was being harmful to realize that's not necessary. And what does it say about you? So it's just kind of been my journey. And even today, 3 of my sister-in-laws are still living. And we have the best time because we had loved one another and shared resources. We have been encouraging, motivating, all of the positive things. And one of them in particular said, we were talking one day, and I said, what would we ever do if we don't get along? She said, oh, we will fix that because we're going to always get along. I said, okay. And we have. And she's 86 now. So just being with people who saw that arguing, hot disagreements, and bullying, those things don't work. And we discovered that love and kindness and support and generosity and appreciation covered those things up and helped people to become better people. And I was blessed to find a husband like that. So, and I like my children a lot, and I think they're a lot like that. So. I used to call them my babies. And I would stand at the door in the morning and greet them and hug them. Because I realized some children are more skin hungry than others because they may not get hugged at home. Because all parents aren't the same way in terms of how they deal with their children. And sometimes fathers with sons, they don't make him a man. I remember one day telling a parent, I said, Daddy, he's 5 years old and you're trying to make him a man already. It won't work. So, but I used to stand there to greet them and ask them about their day. And sometimes I would grab one of them and say, come on, you can work with me today. And I'd let them stroll the hall with me for a few minutes. And then I'd take them to class. Sometimes had a kid who was afraid to come to school and be in the class and be away from home. So when the teacher would bring them to me, I would say, okay, she's going to work with me today. She'll stay with me. And it didn't take but maybe 30 minutes. And the kid would follow me around, and we'd go in my office, and I'd give her some water or something like that, and we'd chat and try to figure out what was scaring her about school. And once we figured, I said, but you have one of the best teachers, and she's going to love you. We're going to love you here. And out of that, I said, you ready to go back? And she would smile and wipe her. She said, I can go now. Mm-hmm. So I loved them. And periodically, when I was hugging me in the morning, I would have a parent come in and say, Dr. Farmer, I need a hug too today. So, So it was just a matter, and I had wonderful faculty and staff who supported the caring for children in those ways. So that made a big difference too.
That's beautiful.
I stayed at Howsville Lamont for 11, 12 years? And during that time, I started a radio show called What Matters at WPSU, and talking about issues of diversity, education, things like that, and bringing on guests for that. And that was really a nice time to get people to share how they saw situations that were arising in the local community. And from that, I was asked to teach a class at Penn State in diversity. And that's when I started the teaching at the university. But I was still also working in the school system. I would teach, evening classes. I taught a class called the Principalship, and I taught a diversity class. I had a wonderful experience with Leadership Center County. Visiting the different sites around in Central Pennsylvania, it was just mind-boggling. And it helped to open my eyes to how people even become who they become out of our history, out of our communities that are so different in places that we went, out of the lack of even communicating with, seeing other people different from you, trying different foods, dress, appropriateness. They took us to such wonderful places. I remember going to a church. I wish I could tell you the city. A church one time, and a small church. And the pastor was there to give us the history of the church. And as I sat there, I thought, wow, they believe what we believe. It's just in a different setting. And of course, I knew people believed differently, but sitting in their seats, like walking in their shoes, was very impactful. They took us to a farm here at State College and showed us about the milking of cows and things like that. Okay, all right. And they took us to communities where children would have to do certain kinds of work, like the farming community and where else did we go? Oh my goodness, it's been so long, but such wonderful experiences. And so even people talking about their background and their experiencing, it softened the shock, and hopefully my presence got them to see that we had more in common than we did difference. So I wouldn't trade that for anything. I recommend it highly to people throughout the years after being involved in it. And then my husband and I did diversity presentations for them at the, what is it? They would what's that church, that area they took us to? Can't remember. Oh goodness, you can tell I'm getting older. But we went up for a weekend, and it was just nice being in a situation, in an environment where very rural, but beautiful scenery in terms of nature, and we had to be face to face with one another and who we were, and talk about topics in ways. And we disagreed. We disagreed some. But as we continued to communicate, you could see the change in people's expressions.